Great Demon King, Chapter 15. I'm rich, I'm rich. Han Shuo sensed Erick's killing intent creeping up behind him, and immediately understood that Erick was closing in at high speed to finish him off, just as he had finished off Dylan. But at this critical moment, Han Shuo summoned every ounce of concentration he possessed. Perhaps due to his recent training, his reflexes had sharpened, and his courage seemed to multiply. His old self would have been paralyzed by fear, yet now he felt calm and determined. Within him, the magical yuan churned faster than ever. As he sprinted, every cell of his body radiated energy, and his familiarity with the terrain allowed him to slip around corners and twist through side paths without breaking stride. To his own surprise, he was actually increasing the distance between himself and Erick. Erick exclaimed, taken aback by Han Shuo's speed and unpredictable zigzagging. Erick's expression darkened when Han Shuo nearly vanished from sight. Dark green light flared around the longsword in Erick's hand. He stomped on a nearby boulder, shattering large fragments of rock and sending them flying. Han Shuo, meanwhile, felt his body soaring with strength. Realizing he was pulling away from Erick, relief flooded him. But just then, two blasts of thunderous sound tore through the air. Han Shuo felt something slam heavily into both his legs, knocking them numb. He toppled forward in mid-run, skidding face first into the dirt. "Little fella, sorry about this," Erick called out almost pityingly. He flicked the longsword in his hand, and a dark green sphere of light gathered before streaking straight at Han Shuo. Still lucid, Han Shuo felt the magical yuan swirling wildly inside him. The pain in his legs dulled under the rush of adrenaline, and he forced his palms against the ground, rolling sideways just before the green sphere struck him. Clang! The attack impacted where Han Shuo had been lying, leaving a web of cracks several meters deep in the earth. Had Han Shuo remained there, his body would have been torn to shreds. "I swear I didn't see anything. I beg you, don't kill me," Han Shuo shouted, trembling. The sight of the pulverized ground horrified him, and he scrambled to his feet, ready to bolt once more. "Skinny as you are, you're surprisingly agile," Erick said with a rueful shrug. "But you still saw things you shouldn't have." "My apologies. I have no choice but to kill you." With that, Erick flicked his blade again, and several fist-sized rocks lifted into the air, hurtling toward Han Shuo. He darted left and right, barely evading the flying stones. But amid the chaos, Erick materialized behind him without warning. A concentrated burst of dark green aura from Erick's longsword lanced into Han Shuo's back. Han Shuo hurtled forward and crashed to the ground again, all four limbs flung outward. Searing agony flared along his spine. Instantly, his magical yuan converged in his back, fiercely clamping down on the green aura worming into his body. "Feels like I just lost a bit of fighting aura," Erick muttered, sounding mystified. "Have I pushed myself too hard? Well, it doesn't matter. The kid's fast, but at least he's finished now." Han Shuo had been ready to scramble upright again when he heard Erick's words. His body, pinned by pain, felt oddly similar to that time when Claude's fighting aura had ravaged him, except Erick's aura was even stronger. Though his magical yuan did its best to contain it, the impact had left his back bloody and mangled. Holding his breath, Han Shuo realized he might still stand a chance if Erick believed him dead. He remained utterly still, hoping Erick would lose interest. But at that very moment, the little skeleton, sensing its master's plight, tried to rush to his aid. Han Shuo, bolstered by his adrenaline-fueled focus, silently commanded it not to come. The little skeleton was ensconced in a tomb some distance away. If it crawled out and attempted to help, Duke would no doubt notice. Han Shuo was still unclear on Duke's exact strength, but he knew it was terrifyingly high. He couldn't let the little skeleton rush into certain doom. Panting lightly, Erick hoisted Han Shuo up by the collar, walked to a nearby, dilapidated tomb, and flung him inside without a second glance. In Erick's eyes, Han Shuo was just a lowly errand boy. No one could have survived a blow like that from a senior knight. Without further delay, Erick left the area, presumably rejoining Duke. The surroundings fell into a deep silence. Han Shuo lay in the tomb, back aflame with torment, mentally hurling curses at both Erick and Duke. But he didn't dare move an inch until at least an hour had passed. Only then did he grit his teeth and slowly crawl out of the tomb, enduring the searing pangs every step of the way. Reaching behind him and feeling the sticky blood on his palm, Han Shuo grimaced. If the opportunity ever arose, he promised himself, he would settle the score for tonight. Making sure the coast was clear, he crept back to the spot where Dylan had collapsed. There, he discovered Dylan's corpse was gone, Duke and Erick must have dumped it in one of the nearby tombs. Summoning the little skeleton from its hiding place, Shuo cursed his rotten luck as he prepared to leave. Just then, he froze, staring at the patch of earth where Dylan had buried something. Duke and Erick had clearly been searching Dylan, presumably for whatever he'd hidden here. Bending down despite the pain, Shuo dug into the loose dirt and unearthed a gray handbag. It felt noticeably heavy and jingled when he shook it. The bag's material and craftsmanship were far finer than the one he owned. He tugged at the drawstrings and slipped a hand inside, pulling out several silver coins. "I'm rich. I'm rich," Shuo whispered excitedly. He knew silver coins were used throughout the empire, yet he himself, Brian, had never held any before. The pain in his back seemed to fade at the sight of that gleaming money. Swoosh! He emptied the contents of the bag onto the ground. A dark green jade box, about the size of his palm, fell out. It was weighty and cool, with a shallow depression on its surface, clearly a keyhole. Next to it, a small green key tumbled out. However, Shuo's eyes were glued to the coins, an elated grin spreading across his face. I'm actually rich. 3 gold coins, 12 silver coins, and 56 bronze coins. This was a small fortune. 1 gold coin could be exchanged for 100 silvers, and 1 silver for 100 bronze. Even with his new upgraded meals of white bread, milk, and eggs, he spent less than 10 silvers per day. This much money could feed him for 2 years. Brian had once been sold to the Babylon Academy of Magic and Force for 5 gold coins total, so these coins alone were enough to cover half his value. After savoring his windfall, Shuo collected the coins and returned them to the bag. Only then did his attention shift to the jade box and key. Frowning, he remembered the priceless robes and staff Duke had carried. Erick's longsword glowed with a high-level fighting aura as well. Clearly, they were no ordinary people. This pouch full of coins meant nothing to them. So why kill Dylan and even come after Shuo? Could it be the contents of this jade box? Under the moonlight, the jade box glimmered with a faint, subtle green hue. Shuo felt his thoughts sharpen as he stared at it. His mental strength seemed to resonate somehow, and he suddenly detected a frigid aura emanating from within the box. A chill ran from his fingertips all the way to his bones, causing him to tremble and squeeze his eyes shut. This box is definitely strange. He sucked in a deep breath, glanced anxiously around, and hastily shoved both the jade box and key back into the gray pouch. Clutching it tight, he limped his way back to the Academy's warehouse. Once inside, Shuo decided not to tamper with the jade box any further that night, nor did he spend more time admiring the coins. Hiding the bag securely under the bed, he instructed the little skeleton to help clean and bandage the gash on his back, then collapsed into an exhausted sleep.